There is a single road that runs almost the entire length of the world, the Pan American Highway. It begins in the frozen north of Alaska and stretches all the way down to the southern tip of Argentina. Nearly 30,000 kilometers of road. In theory, you could drive almost the whole thing without ever leaving the pavement. Almost. Because near the border of Panama and Colombia, the road simply stops. For about 100 kilometers, there is nothing. No asphalt, no bridges, no way through, just a wall of jungle so dense, so wet, and so deadly that in over a century of engineering, no one has ever built a road across it. Legend says a Spanish conquistador once carved a warning into the rock here. When you go to Darién, give yourself to Mary, for in her hands is the entrance, and in God's the exit. This is the Darién Gap. To understand why this place defeated the modern world, you first have to see where it sits. The Darién Gap is a stretch of roadless wilderness straddling the border between Panama and Colombia, the narrow land bridge where Central and South America meet. Locals call it El Tapón, the plug. It is a tangle of swamp, mountain, and rainforest covering thousands of square kilometers, with no government control, no signs, and almost no people. On one side, the Pan American Highway runs south until it dead ends in a small Panamanian town. On the other, it picks up again deep inside Colombia. In between lies the single greatest obstacle on the entire route from Alaska to Argentina. Everything else, deserts, mountains, frozen tundra, engineers found a way through. Here, the jungle simply won. And to understand why, you have to step inside it. The Darién is one of the wettest places on the planet. Out of 365 days in a year, it rains on more than 300 of them. The land is not one thing, but many, stacked together in chaos. High mountain ridges drop into flooded wetlands. Cloud forests give way to mangrove coastlines. Rivers cross the landscape in tangled knots, and when the storms roll in, those rivers do not just rise. They explode. Flash floods tear across the ground in minutes. Whole new rivers appear where none existed the day before. Mudslides erase the trail behind you. There are no marked paths that last because the jungle rewrites itself constantly. Heat sits above 35 degrees and the humidity is suffocating. This is terrain that does not just slow you down. It actively works to swallow anyone who tries to pass. And then there is what lives here. The Darién is one of the most biodiverse places on Earth, home to hundreds of species of mammals, thousands of insects, and over 500 kinds of bird. Many of them are beautiful. Many of them can kill you. Jaguars hunt these forests, and while they rarely attack people, the attacks that do happen are almost always fatal. Pumas stalk the same ground. The harpy eagle, one of the largest birds of prey in the world, is powerful enough to lift a small deer or a child. American crocodiles patrol the rivers as apex predators with nothing to fear. And these are just the large threats. The forest floor hides venomous snakes. The still water breeds mosquitoes carrying malaria and dengue. In the Darién, the danger is not the exception. It is the entire environment, alive and against you. People have been trying and failing to conquer this place for over 500 years. In 1513, the Spanish explorer Vasco Núñez de Balboa cut his way through these very jungles, and when he finally emerged on the far side, he became the first European ever to lay eyes on the Pacific Ocean from the Americas. It was a triumph, but it was also a warning. Spain went on to conquer vast empires across 2 continents. Gold and silver flowed back to Europe by the ton. And yet the Darién itself was never truly tamed. The jungle was so lawless and so impenetrable that it became a hideout for British pirates, who used it to ambush Spanish treasure fleets. The most powerful empire on Earth could seize entire civilizations, but it could not hold this small stretch of forest. That should have been the lesson. It wasn't. In 1698, an entire nation gambled its future on the Darién. Scotland, watching its English neighbours grow rich from colonies, decided to build one of its own here, a grand trading hub linking 2 oceans. The country poured in around £400,000, nearly a quarter of all the money in Scotland. 2,500 settlers sailed for the jungle. What they found was a nightmare: disease, starvation, relentless rain, and constant attack. Within a single year, only about 500 of them were left alive. The colony collapsed completely, and the financial wound was so catastrophic that it helped bankrupt the entire Scottish kingdom, pushing it into union with England just a few years later. A jungle most of those investors had never seen helped erase a country's independence. The Darién had claimed not just lives, but a nation. You might think modern technology would finally break through. It came surprisingly close to trying. In 1854, the United States sent an expedition to survey a possible canal route through the Darién. The team vanished into the jungle for 49 days, battling starvation and parasites. 9 of the 27 men never came out. Their conclusion was blunt: no one should even be here. A century later, in the 1960s, American planners had an even wilder idea. They proposed blasting a sea-level canal straight through the region using over 300 nuclear explosions. A newspaper of the day reassured readers it would be safe because the area was, in their words, only sparsely populated. That plan, thankfully, was abandoned. When the Pan-American Highway was finally completed in the 1970s, it stopped at the Darién once again. The gap remained. It always did. But here is the part most people never learn. The gap in the road is not only there because building is hard. In part, it has been kept open on purpose. For decades, governments to the north feared that a finished highway would become a corridor for disease, allowing outbreaks like foot and mouth, which devastates cattle, to spread up through the Americas. The wild jungle acted as a natural quarantine wall, a barrier no infected animal could easily cross. So the very impassability that killed explorers became something worth protecting. The Darién was left as a deliberate void, a no-man's land between 2 continents. And into that void, with no roads, no police, and no real government presence, something else inevitably moved in. Where the state is absent, others take control. And in the Darién, the people who took control were not interested in saving anyone. Since the late 20th century, the Darién has been ruled by armed groups. Colombian paramilitaries and drug traffickers used its cover for kidnappings, disappearances, and murder. Foreign travelers who wandered in were taken hostage for months, and some were never seen alive again. Today, much of the region is dominated by a criminal organization with thousands of members that holds near total control over who enters and who leaves. They tax everything that moves. Every person attempting to cross, every guide, every boat owner, pays a cut. By some estimates, this single group earns hundreds of millions of dollars a year from the human traffic alone. There is no law here to appeal to, no authority to protect you. The jungle that nature made deadly, human beings have made worse. And still, more people walk into it now than at any point in history. For most of modern history, barely 2,000 people crossed the Darién each year. Then the numbers exploded. In 2023, more than 500,000 people walked into the jungle, fleeing crisis and poverty across South America and beyond, all hoping to reach North America. A region of dense rainforest that had stopped armies and empires became a desperate migration route on foot. The journey takes anywhere from 4 to 12 days. People drown in flooded rivers. They fall from cliffs. They run out of food, water, and strength. Along the trail, the jungle is now littered with what they leave behind. Backpacks, shoes, photographs, the small remnants of interrupted lives. A tiny nation of just a few million people suddenly found over 1 million strangers passing through its wilderness in only 3 years. The deadliest jungle on Earth had become a highway after all. Just not one made of road. And yet, the Darién is not empty. Long before any of this, indigenous peoples lived here, and they still do, moving by canoe along rivers that outsiders cannot read, surviving in a place built to reject everyone else. To them, this is not a gap or an obstacle. It is home. The Darién Gap remains one of the last truly untamed places on the planet. A break in the longest road on Earth that no engineer, no empire, and no nation has ever managed to close. It has defeated conquistadors, bankrupted a kingdom, swallowed expeditions, and outlasted every plan to conquer it. The modern world has mapped the deserts, drilled the poles, and paved nearly every corner of the globe. But here in this narrow band of green between 2 continents, the wild still wins. Some places, it turns out, were never meant to be crossed.